morning, guys, and welcome to another vlog. It is currently April 3rd and we have 12 days until the fashion show and 0 looks finished. To be fair, I do have 2 looks in progress, so I feel better about that. Clearly one is behind me. So we're not like, you know, that far behind, but we are a little far behind. But today I wanted to experiment with plastic because I don't tend to be much of an upcycler just because, I don't know, I like to make things from scratch. I like to make things from straight fabric and whatever. And I just have never really dabbled into the unconventional materials too much, or just like doing that kind of upcycling. Not because I don't want to, I just like have never given myself the time to, I guess. But the other day I was making my iced tea like concentrate in my little tiny like plastic bottles that I have from like the little matcha shots that I drink in the morning, because you know I want to keep them and try to find ways to reuse them because they are, you know, quite wasteful otherwise. So I was making the iced tea concentrate and I made it and immediately like poured them in, forgetting that obviously that was like boiling water and I was putting it into plastic. So obviously the bottle like shrunk on me, or not like shrunk, but like it, you know, molded weirdly because plastic melts when you know, put heat to it. So I was like, oh right, that is a thing, oops. And then I was like, what if I like use that to kind of like mold it to the body in some sort of way? So I like picked out a couple plastic pieces of things that I just had in my recycling. One of them being my like Trader Joe's Dunkers container. This is the lid to it. I haven't finished like fully cleaning it off and like taking the paper off of it and like the plastic residue, whatever, because I just wanted to see if it worked with the lid first before I did all the work to try to like get the paper and stickiness off of it. So we're gonna try that. I have the lid and I have a blow dryer. I've had this blow dryer since probably elementary school, and I just think it's funny because it's literally pink cheetah print, and that is the most elementary school thing I could have possibly done. Like I'm thinking attempting to do kind of like a breastplate kind of deal. So we're just gonna play around. It's gonna work. I have no clue. I also don't know how like potent this is, or like how, yeah, I don't know. Overall consensus, this does work. So we were able to mold it a little bit. So now I just kind of actually need to figure out how I want to go about it and what the design's going to be or whatever. But I want to play with this because I think this would be really cool. And since I'm just making pieces for fun for this fashion show, like I'm not necessarily trying to sell them, I just think this would be a cool place to start experimenting, especially because it is an Earth Month fashion show and it is meant to obviously highlight sustainability in all of these designers. I think it would be a good time to attempt to genuinely take things out of my recycling and use them. I think this is going to be cool. I'm planning on probably painting it or adding something over it. I don't actually want it to be clear, but I'm gonna have to figure that out. I like it, and I think it'll go well with the collection because I am using a lot of transparency and just, where is it? Transparency, like this one is pretty transparent, and just a lot of lightness. So I don't want it to look hard. Like I don't want it to look, yeah, like I want it to look soft. So I think that's gonna be my challenge, and that's gonna be what I try to do. I'm kind of wondering if I should like poke a hole into it to try to keep it up pinned, or if I should like tape it down, what the vibe is. I need to see how this like feels. It's pretty legit though. I'm gonna clean out the rest of the plastic and we're gonna kind of just play around with this today. Okay, so I was cutting out the container, so this is what it looks like. I cut it. Here's like the bottom part. I cut that off and then I opened this up and I was gonna cut it further, and then I was like, wait a minute, like this could be a little like corset vibe if I melt it down to its actual size, but like it kind of fits around it pretty nicely. So I'm gonna mess with that. I wasn't able to take off the sticky residue completely, as you can see, so I'm gonna kind of just melt over it and see what happens and hope for the best. Clean it out later if I need to, but we're gonna mess with this. I think this is gonna be cool. Okay, so I've messed around with the plastic quite a bit, and then I went on to hand sew a bit more of this dress. I wanted to hand sew enough so that I could take it off the form and try it on and kind of see what it's looking like, and so I did, and it looks really cool, but it is see-through. So I am not gonna show you what it looks like on me right now because I'm not wearing proper attire for that. But I have a few more last ones to sew on there, but it's all these like loose ones in the bottom and just one on the back. So it's mostly done, which I'm very excited about. And then obviously I need to just like properly cut it, hem it, whatever. But what I'm thinking of doing, so I'm also gonna be having a pop-up at the show, which I haven't made any pieces for. I obviously always have random inventory lying around. I still have a few pieces from last spring collection and then like some totes and stuff like that I just like always have because they, I don't know, they don't sell that often. So I have some of that, but that same fabric, that like white, I guess clear, shiny, see-through fabric, whatever it is. I don't know where I put like the rest of the roll of it. It's somewhere over here. But anyway, I have a good amount of it, and I was thinking it would be really cute to make baby tees out of, because I love a good like see-through baby tee that you wear a cute bralette under it, or just like good layering piece, whatever. I think they're really fun, and I have a baby tee pattern already, so I thought those would be really cute to make with that fabric, just to have something kind of this collection available for sale too, or like kind of matching the collection. So I'm thinking of doing that. I don't know if I'm gonna necessarily do that today, but that's just a thought I'm putting out there. I messed around with the plastic a little bit more, but I need to really figure out what I want to do with it, because I'm just like, I don't know. So I taped it down so I could kind of see what it was gonna look like, and then this one was here, which I think looks kind of cool. Obviously not symmetrical whatsoever. Not that I was necessarily going for that, but I messed up a bit, because it used to kind of fit corset-y vibes, and then it shrunk quite a bit because this is pretty thin plastic, so it just curls up. So it just curls up really fast, and I just like wasn't paying attention too well, so some of the ends curled up a little too much, and I'm trying to like mess with it to really be able to mold it. So I was able to kind of mold the top a little bit better to what I wanted it to be, but I haven't really gotten it exactly where I want it. But anyway, I was playing around with different like placements of this, because obviously originally it was gonna be like this, but now it's not really looking great for that, just because it doesn't have that shape. So I was playing around with like an asymmetrical like side peplum could be cool, or something coming in towards the middle like that could be really cool, some sort of like asymmetrical vibe there. Even like on a shoulder, like that could be a really cool moment. So I think I'm just gonna mess with it. I also need to kind of figure out how I would make the edges not sharp. Some of the edges are obviously a little sharp, so I wouldn't want that. I need to figure out how I would like just go about the whole situation. I don't know how I would properly mount it. I don't know how I would properly like make sure it doesn't like cut somebody, but either way, I like the thoughts of it, and I want to just keep thinking on it, because I think there's potential. And if it doesn't work out for this show, maybe for the next one, but at least we've got something going. But this kind of turned out cool. I like this, but I can't just have like a singular boob with plastic, so I don't know. Anyway, I think I'm gonna start on the next piece that I want to do, so let's do that. So this fabric I got, I'm pretty sure at the Buy Nothing like group sale thing. Not really a sale, I don't know what to consider it. When it's a Buy Nothing group, you just go and show up and people are giving stuff for free. But anyway, I went with my friend Megan during Vlogmas. I vlogged it. I'm pretty sure I got this fabric there, and it was a white fabric, and I recently dyed it using avocados, which I've been dying to do. So if you don't know, avocado peels and like the seeds of it, if you boil it in water, it actually creates a pink dye, which is really cool and kind of random. I just feel like you wouldn't expect that from an avocado, but it does dye pink. So I made a little like process video for like Instagram if you want to like see that fully. But it's this beautiful light pink color now, and it has, I guess, like a little bit of, it looks like tie-dye-y, because honestly this was a lot of fabric for the small pot that I put it in, or like it just took up a lot of space, so it didn't like properly get everywhere evenly. But I really like what it looks like. That being said, I want to make something out of this, but it's not that much fabric. It's maybe like 1.5 yards maybe, but it's also like short. Like it's not like a full, like the width is small. So I kind of just wanted to play around with like draping it and doing something with it. Maybe that was what I was thinking, but I don't really know. I really don't have thoughts at all for this right now. I think this one would be the more maybe wearable piece of everything I do, because I feel like some of the pieces haven't been. So like this one's not gonna necessarily be a gown. I think it has potential to be something just like really cute, fun. I think I'm gonna lean into the asymmetrical vibes that I've been doing for a lot of these pieces. I really love the look of that in general. So maybe that's something I'll lean into. I don't know. I'm gonna mess around with it. Okay, so I lied. I didn't drape anything. I decided to sketch instead. So I had a few ideas. My original first idea when I was thinking of just like pieces to make on a collection is just like I've wanted to make a simple bodycon dress that has that like ruching detail on the side for so long, because I just love that style. I think it's so beautiful and so classic, and I am a sucker for a good bodycon. That's like one of the silhouettes I really love. So that was something that I had always thought of for this collection, or just like a design I've had in mind. And I also love a good high neck. I am a sucker for a good high neck. So there's just like elements I really love. So I was like, you know what, that could be a fun one to do. But then I was like, you know what, it feels a little bit basic, so what can I do? What else can I do? Trying to think outside of that. And then I was like, it would be cool to play with just like different silhouettes and leaning into that asymmetrical kind of vibe a little bit more. So then I thought of something like this, of doing like a one shoulder and then making it like half a a bodycon, but then on one of the sides have it be a little bit of flare. Maybe not as aggressively as I necessarily designed it, but I think it could be cool to have that kind of thing too. I'd have to think about how I would construct it, because realistically if you construct bodycon on one side, flare on the other, it might just end up flaring on the other side too, just like the way the fabric balance is. So I don't know if I'd have to do like a full bodycon and then just do a second layer over it to do the flare so that it like is tight on that other side. But I think that could be really cool and just like a playful way to play with something, just like a playful way to design, because I still think it would be a wearable design, but it's not as basic maybe, but just like has a little something else to it. I think it would be really cute. So that is another idea. And then last idea, if you've watched my designs for the past 3 years pretty much on my shop, one of the first designs I put out was a top that looked like this. It was a top, not a dress, but it had that like asymmetrical one shoulder kind of vibe, and I really love it. And I haven't done it since, which I don't know why, because I really love it. I think it's beautiful. So I could do that with also an asymmetrical hem, which I think could also be cute. But I think right now I'm leaning more towards this middle one. I'm feeling the like one shoulder bodycon with the little flare on the side. So I'm gonna hope I have enough fabric for it. I feel like I do, because it would be like a mini bodycon. I think I'm going to pattern it. The good thing about bodycons is that they're very easy to pattern, especially with a 4-way stretch like this, because you don't need to account for darts or anything like that at all, which is just the best, which is also why I just love working with knits. And this one's an easier knit to work with because it's a little bit heavier. Super fine knits are, I would argue, like a lot harder to work with just because they're really slippery and they stretch out a lot. But this one is like a really thick but still very stretchy, like just good quality fabric. Like I really like this a lot, but I only have this much of it, so I'm only gonna be able to make one dress. It's not like I can make multiples of this, which is the only bad side about this, because I have a feeling then people are gonna be like, oh, this is so cute, you should try to recreate it, but necessarily know where I would find this fabric again. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and make the one shoulder bodycon and then see how much fabric we have left. If we need to like patch things up to make it work, we might do that, but I just want to try. So I'm gonna be using my Diana dress pattern, which is pretty much a basic bodycon, because I know this is my tried and true, works every time, and I'm just gonna use it as a base to make my next pattern and like do the off the shoulder moment. And honestly, the front and back are gonna be the exact same. There's really no difference to it, so I'm gonna just use one of the sides. The good thing about, you know, designing for years and years at this point is that you start to accumulate patterns, and then you can kind of use your patterns to make new patterns. Like the amount of times I've used this dress as just like my base for anything, tops, dresses, whatever, and you just know it works, because at some point you really do perfect the fit of it, and then you know that it's always gonna work. And this is one of the ones that I know is always gonna work, because I've yet to have anybody be like, hey, actually this doesn't fit my size. So granted, this one is an easier one to fit also because it's just a bodycon and it stretches, so there's always a lot more leeway in that. But either way, gotten all good reviews on this one so far. So I'm gonna just trace the whole thing and then draw over it to kind of figure out what I want this to look like. So the Diana dress is a pretty high neck, so I'm gonna definitely bring down the neck probably like a couple of inches so that it's down a little bit. I'm trying to like think. Oh, I guess I'm gonna have to also do the full thing. It's asymmetrical. I didn't think about that. Okay, that's what we're gonna do. I'm going to cut this out, and then we're gonna tape it to another piece to make it a full piece, because I need to obviously actually have a full piece of this. Usually I cut it on the fold, so I only do half of it, and then, you know, it's the same on the other side, but I cannot be doing that with this one because we want the asymmetrical vibe. So cut her out. I always save random bits of pattern paper that are like offcuts that are big enough for pattern pieces, but maybe not for like pattern pieces that I was making at the time, so that I can tape them together and make more patterns. So that's what I'm gonna be pulling out here. Oh, this might be a big enough piece. Perfect, beautiful. Really do try to keep things as sustainable as possible, even though I use a lot of paper all the time. Though paper is probably one of the better materials I could be using. It's not like it's plastic, so at least we got that going for us. I'm gonna trace this to this side, and then we'll tape them together. Okay, I have a fully taped front piece now, or just front and back, whatever. So now I'm gonna go ahead and play around with how I want to go about this. So like I said, we're gonna bring the neckline down quite a bit. So I don't want it to be a high neck for this one. And I'm gonna kind of play around with this a bit. I think I could probably bring the armhole down a little bit. So I'm gonna probably gonna curve this out. I don't know if you guys can see that, but curved it out a little bit here and then straightened it out to the armhole. Brought it down a little bit because I think I can. It shouldn't be a big deal. I'm thinking I'll probably bring down this armhole on the other side as well and just kind of make a thinner strap on that side. And that should be good. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut. We will have a one shoulder pattern. Now it looks like this. It can obviously go either way. It might still be too high. Maybe not. Actually, no, I think that might be good. We can always lower it. I think I like this. I'm gonna take this fabric and kind of see realistically how much I need. I'm wondering if I'm even gonna have enough. I really, like I do, but I don't know. Since this fabric is a 4-way stretch and it doesn't really matter how you cut it, we're just gonna cut it however is going to fit, which you usually cannot do with fabrics. That is the one good thing about a 4-way stretch. It really does not matter where you're cutting it from or how you're cutting it. Don't know how much we're really gonna have for the little side skirt that I wanted to do, but I think we'll still be able to add and do some sort of asymmetrical something right there. This really isn't a lot of fabric, so it's just gonna be a short little number. Actually, it's not even that short. It'll be good. It'll be good. Okay, I'm gonna cut this and then we'll start serging it together and then figure out what we're gonna do with the rest of the fabric. Okay, so here's what we've got. Just a good old bodycon dress. I do have some adjustments I want to make. I make it a little bit tighter so that it sits better. Obviously, it'll sit better once I hem this and it's not just like out and about like this. But also, I did make a size small, not an extra small. So this is slightly bigger than my mannequin, but not that it's like a super noticeable difference or anything. But it's not like as tight necessarily. Here is the rest of the fabric that we have. Like we still have a good amount of fabric, but it's thin, so I can't do like a circle kind of ruffle vibe, which is what I originally had in mind. So just like messing around with it though, I would want kind of like this vibe coming in the front, just having that little like poof there kind of, and kind of like coming down towards like the middle here is what I had in mind, which would leave kind of a little ruffle right there, which is kind of what we had in mind. Thing is, it is shorter, so I guess I'll bring this up. It is shorter here than where the dress ends, so the dress ends here and then this is like way up here. So that's the only thing. It's like it's a little bit shorter than I would have maybe liked, but maybe I don't even mind that. Maybe it actually will look cute, and maybe this can just, I mean, I don't know if this is the exact length I'm gonna go for. I need to think of which model's gonna wear this and how tall they are. If I use one of my shorter models, then I could kind of adjust it that way, or even like bring this down just the tiniest bit. But this is kind of the vibe I wanted, where it's like bodycon on this side and little skirt on this side. Like I think that's really cute, and I think I might just go with what I have here. Like I think I'm just gonna cut into it and like cut here, and I'm trying to think of how I would want to go about sewing this. I think I would have pin it from under so that I get like a nice hem here, potentially. I think it's cute though. It's like a simple design that's like slightly more elevated, you know, which I think is the goal. So once this is hemmed, it's kind of gonna look like this, which I think is cute. It's just like bulky, obviously, because I just folded everything under. But I think I like where this is heading. I think I like the vibes. Okay, so I got this sewn on there. This is what it looks like. It's actually so cute, and it's exactly what I wanted it to be. So the trick was to just make it a full bodycon at the bottom and then add this over top instead of like having this be like cut and make it a seam. So really love how this looks, but it's still looking pretty plain to me. Not that that's a bad thing, but I think my other pieces so far have been a little more extravagant, and I am trying to remind myself that I'm trying to make these just for fun and like just for creativity's sake and not for sellability. I was playing around with just like the random offcuts of this, and I was like, what if I just made like a cute little bow out of it? So I just made a little bow out of one of these little things. And I was messing around with like little placements, and I thought it'd be cute to maybe like add them in a few different places. Like that is so cute. Or I don't know, I'm gonna cut a few other random ones and see what we get. But I just want to like add more to it, but I don't necessarily want to add a different fabric to it. So I want to use whatever I have of this fabric, which is not a lot. This is what's left of it. Trying to keep this as like zero waste as possible, even though I don't think it's going to be a fully zero waste design necessarily, but I think it'd be cool if I could use up most of this fabric. I don't know, there's so many different placements I could use, or I could add multiples in different places too, kind of make it a little more like maximalist, but in a simplistic way. I feel like the monotone kind of just helps it kind of keep that simplicity and not be so overbearing. I could also make a really big bow, like the bigger leftover pieces, and put it at the shoulder. That could also be an option. I could like line this whole seam with them. That could be kind of cute. Do something like that. And then on the back, that could be cute. I don't know. I think I'm just gonna play around with it. I think I was just inspired because I was left with a bunch of these, and this fabric is the type that just like kind of rolls into itself if you don't hem it. So it just created these little strings. But I think this is cute. I think it kind of matches the very whimsical vibes I've got going on with like the other dress I have. It's so funny that I literally every spring result into this like pink hyper feminine thing, even though winter I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to be edgy, blah, blah, blah. And then here comes spring and I'm like, oh my God, pink. So here we are again at this point. At this point, I feel like it's expected of me. So I just think it's funny. I'm like such a hard switch in between both all the time. I think what I'm going to do is probably start hemming all of this up here and just do all the finishes. So it's like ready to go. And all I really have to like do to finish would be add all the details that I want to do, but I'm not going to do them yet because I just want to think about it for a bit. I really like how this is going. So now we've got 3 looks in the works, which is halfway there. So it's actually not bad at all. The other one, I don't know if I've shown in a vlog yet, but I did it like randomly late one night and I've posted on Instagram about it. I need to order a zipper for it so I can finish it. That's what I need to do for that one, like a little side zipper. And the other looks I've yet to figure out. I want to do 6 looks ideally is what I'm leaning towards. So this would be halfway through. 3 looks, I have ideas, but they're not as set in stone as these were in my head. So still trying to figure that out. I might take a little break and then come back to this.